Hello, welcome to the online course for Math98. I did notice that I put the title as Math098 Winter 2015 online. You should have in your Canvas syllabus. I'm going to go through the syllabus first, and we're going to talk about kind of layout of my math labs for people that haven't been in there before, and explain some of the things in the syllabus and how we're going to use my math lab this quarter. So, well, here is my math lab we're looking at right now that has, I'm looking at the announcement portion, which is here. You can kind of go in here. This calendar is going to be important. You want to pay attention to that. Basically, it'll talk about when certain things are coming up. The blue circles indicate homework when they're due, and I think like this one back here, I created all these homework assignments on the same day last Thursday, so they start with the blue circle, and then I made some announcements here. I put the syllabus and I talked about proctoring announcement there that is actually in your first assignment that is due Monday, first day of class. There's a short assignment which is about using the interface for my math labs, and also there's a couple questions in there on the syllabus to make sure that you've read this, and I should talk about that probably in this video. So most everything you need to know. And then as the calendar goes on, you have there's another assignment that's due here, which is a chapter 1 review. We're going to start the year by reviewing the first 3 chapters of the book. We're going to start on chapter 4. Will be part of this course. So first we're going to quickly go through a review of Math93, basically. If you've been in this, so it shouldn't be too difficult. If you haven't and you went right to 98, this will go pretty quickly, but it's skills you'll need to get through this course. So then when the homework is due right here, this chapter 1 review, I'm going to make available a quiz, which I'll talk about in the syllabus, but I'll have basically Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll be able to take this quiz multiple times. You can do multiple attempts. Usually we'll have 3 attempts on quizzes. That does not need to be proctored. You can take it on your own, and so I wouldn't hesitate, even if you don't feel very comfortable with the material. I would go ahead and take that first quiz, because I only take the best score out of the 3 attempts, or as many attempts as I allow you to take. So you could go in there and say, well, I'm not real sure, but I'm going to go ahead and take this quiz, and it'll point out the areas where you need to shore up your skills or do some more studying. So, and you'll have usually a good time window in here, 2 to 3 days, sometimes only 2 days, depending on how we're scheduling the class goes. But you'll have this whole time frame that you can do that, and you submit. It'll give you a score. You'll be able to review all the answers, and the ones, especially the ones you got wrong. You can look at them and see what type of question that was that you're having trouble with. And it's a very good procedure, and I would recommend that you take this like a test, so you can see how prepared you are for the test, because at the end of each chapter, when we get into chapter 4, we'll have a chapter test, which is the chapter test, and the final is scored the same way. It represents 60% of your grade. So, and then that needs to be proctored, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, about what that means. If you're near the Wenatchee campus too, usually I'll set up a proctoring session, in our proctoring center at Wenatchee Valley College, and I'll probably try to do that up in OMAC too. But I've had students online that are not close to either one of those campuses, so we'll have to arrange some approved proctoring. So when you go into a proctor test, it's going to be on my Math Labs 2, and then I'll have instructions for your proctor on what you can use for that test. Usually just a calculator and scratch paper. So, I'm kind of jumping through the whole course here, but so you have this calendar. Pay attention to this. So this tells me that on this Wednesday, this chapter 1 quiz will be available, and then you have that window. So this calendar is going to be very useful to scroll through. You can see where you're at, those kinds of things. These upcoming assignments show things that are available right now. Since I made these assignments available right when I assigned them, that you could start working on that, and you can work at your own pace. You could get ahead and do those kind of things. The quizzes don't show up here because they are not available to work on until it comes to that date. They have a start date. Do that. So like chapter 2 quiz has a 2-day window to do that quiz in, and so on. The announcements here, this is a very good procedure to go through with the first announcements from Pearson, or the My Math Labs software company, the Pearson, and they're talking about they have a tutoring service. I'm not sure if, I suppose they charge for that. We have tutoring services around the campuses too, but you're going to check your browser so to make sure that it will handle the different features of this software that's here. And also there's an instruction on how to use or how to enter answers into these questions and stuff like that. And that's part of your first assignment too, is going through the platform. Now the second announcement I put in here is our syllabus, and let's look at that specifically. And I just hit more on that announcement and open up the rest of the syllabus. Here's the course, and my name, I'm Dan Maher. Here's my email address. I try to keep an office hour at the Wenatchee Hall in Wenatchee campus in 2214. It's adjunct faculty offices, so there's multiple teachers in there, but I try to be there every day from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So if you're going to call, or if you're around campus and you got a question, try to make it in this time period would be great. A lot of times I have an 8 o'clock class that I teach too, and a lot of times I'll be in the math lab with my students from that class, either during that class period or sometimes during this office hour too, working on giving them a quiz or test too. So here's our book edition. You need the online access code, which is you can buy the book at the library or Amazon, those kinds of things. I've had some students have trouble with the used books, that they don't get a valid access code to allow them into the software, so be careful there. You can go online and just purchase the access code, which is cheaper than buying the book. There is an online book available if you're comfortable with your computer. We're doing it that way. You can, and you have good internet access. That's an option not to have a paper book, but that's up to you. There are possibilities that the internet is not accessible and you want to study something, but those kind of things. So make sure you check that out. It is required in this course that you have an online access to this and get registered and do that. If you're not quite sure, there is a temporary access you can do and then buy or put in an access code when you buy that. So you can start right away and do a temporary one. I know that sometimes with financial aid, it takes a while for that monies to come through too. So there should give you enough time, hopefully, that'll put you in a window when you can purchase. Here's the basically the pieces of information and parts of algebra we're going to go through in this course is to use operations on powers, scientific notation, use and evaluate polynomials, perform operations on polynomials, factor polynomials, big deal, factoring, big deal on that stuff, a lot of stuff on factoring. Use rational expressions, perform operations on rational expressions, and solve linear systems. The final exam is due on March 18th. That's the last day of finals, and what I will probably do, or my plan here at this point, is to give like a take-home final. It'll be an online test that's going to be available without password, but you only get one attempt, and I'll talk about that a little bit at that time. But it's kind of like a take-home test, basically, that you'll have multiple days to do that. I can start the final on the first day of finals, and then I'll end it on the last day of finals to give you a chance, plenty of time to do your final. Here's how my grading works. Percent. There's a deal here. 10% of your grade is on homework. Your goal on homework should be to get 100%. With this tool and this software, you have all kinds of help available, which we'll go through when we get in a little more details. But I would hope that you would get 100% on all your homework, or that should be the goal. I know that there's some time management issues sometimes, but you can actually, if you get a problem wrong on your homework, there's an option to do a similar problem, and if you get that one right, then that incorrect one goes away. So, and like if I have a sports analogy, I would hate to think that we're going to practice basketball and you're going to practice layups by throwing the ball as hard as you can against the backboard. I mean, you're going to thinking that, when it comes to the test or the game, I know how to put it in. We want to practice at doing it correctly. In fact, that's one of the things too. When I've done in-book or in-classes, I usually only assign problems that the answer's in the back of the book, because I want you to know immediately if you've done it right or not. And this makes that available. The quizzes I talked about a little bit in that calendar, they represent 30% of your grade. You have multiple attempts on these quizzes, and it's like a pretest, and you should take it like a pretest, and that's going to tell you a lot about how prepared you are to take that test, which is the lion's share of your grade, 60% of your grade. And here's how it breaks down for letter grades. I talked about my math lab's is definitely required if you're going to drop. I think drop date is February 23rd for this quarter. And then I talk about homework here. I do talk, the goal should be get 100% on all your homework. Something I do is I make a soft due date, I call it, which is, when we looked at the calendar before, it said due on this date. I let you work past the due date. But when the assignments are due, especially towards the end of a chapter, we're going to have multiple assignments. We're going to hit the end of the chapter. There's going to start quizzing. I would hope that you've done all your homework at that point. You're going to be more prepared. But I've seen students do that, and they think, maybe I can skip this review assignment. I seem to be doing okay. They do one attempt at their quiz and they don't do well. They go back and do the rest of their homework before they start attempting those quizzes again. So that opportunity to say, how will I do without help? In a true testing situation, how would I do? And so there's some different methods. So if I have this, like the chapter 1 review is due on Wednesday, if I get past it, I'm still working on that, or you're still working on it, and on Thursday, you can still finish that assignment. Now, there is a caution I put in here when I'm talking about this. If you have not completed homework, your grade will look okay. It doesn't go into the grade book until I actually put a score in those assignments. So I've had students who have skipped a lot of assignments in the prior chapter, and what I do is I say, well, as soon as I start, because my goal is that you perform this algebra, attempt it enough that you, and succeed at your attempts to get at these questions correct, that you're going to succeed, hopefully remember this and go on. So I like to leave those assignments open, but at the end of the next chapter, let's say I skip a couple assignments in chapter 4. We go through that, and I took the hit probably on the test because I didn't do all my assignments. I got a C or something on my chapter test. And I'm sitting there, well, I had a good quiz, and the assignments I did get done are 100%. I'm going like, I'm still sitting at a high B here. I'm okay, I don't need to do that assignment. Well, when we get to the end of chapter 5 and I start testing on chapter 5, I go back, and any assignments that are in chapter 4 at that point that are incomplete, I put zeros in there. So you might be sitting there thinking you have a high B, and then we start testing on chapter 5, and all of a sudden you look and you're at a C plus or something, because these assignments took scores and affected your grades. So I put this caution in here because I've had some students get surprised by that and stuff like that. So I would prefer that you never even test this. If you do your work and do your assignments, I've never, well, I should never say never, but I can't think of a case where I've seen students succeed, do their homework really well, and doing their own work and all that kind of stuff, that have done poorly in these types of classes. I mean, you'll do well if you do it this way, in this order. The quizzes are during scheduled dates. Multiple quizzes are available during this window of time. Multiple quizzes are taken, if multiple quizzes are taken, which is more than likely that's the way I've done it in the past. The best score of all the attempts will be used for grading. So if you got 3 attempts, you'll notice when you start a quiz, it'll say you're taking 1 out of 3 or something like that. Those kinds of things. So I'd say the first attempt, there's no risk to, other than you're spending that time to take it. Usually the tests and the quizzes are meant to be from 35 to 45 minutes if you really know the material well. I've seen students go quite a bit longer than that. But that's the idea, is that you can do multiple quizzes. You're really going to find out if you're ready for that chapter test in that process. The chapter tests now, they are proctored, or they have to be supervised, would be another way to say that. You have to supervise these. There's going to have to be a teacher or a proctor, somebody that's going to make sure that I know that evaluation was taken in a way that you had no outside help and those kind of things. So like going into a classroom setting and taking a test. In that first assignment, I talked about how are you going to deal with your chapter tests, and what I want you to do is to look into the second announcement right after this one where the syllabus is, and it talks about proctoring services. On the Wenatchee campus, there's proctoring services for free for all the Wenatchee Valley students, and OMAC campus has a proctoring service. And a lot of times, if you're in an area or have some inability to make it to one of these facilities, we need to start making arrangements right now to set up proctoring. And I need to approve the proctoring service, or how we're going to proctor your chapter tests. Okay. And same thing I talk about in here. If you miss a due date on your quizzes or tests, you have to have a valid reason, and then I will decide whether I'm going to allow you to make that up or not. So, preferably you don't get in a situation where you have to test that too. So, okay. There's a little note about Special Populations Office. There's great services here at Wenatchee Valley College. To do that, if you think you got any additional requirements or any special needs that may interfere with your ability to succeed in this course, this is a good service to check out and do that. I listed some additional help for this class is available through the instructor, me, during my office hours. At my phone number here, I got my personal cell phone number here. You can use. It is a cell phone number if you need to text something. There's a great tutor center in the Wenatchee Valley College Library. Usually a lot of tutors up there that understand my math labs really well can help you in and out of that platform, and it's open daily in the library and upstairs. And a couple other suggestions I know that can really help is to take some time, maybe make a study group with some of your fellow classmates. I know online this may be a little more difficult, but we can talk about that. There is a way to make discussions on this platform too, and do that. But I'm more thinking about, it'd be nice to sit down and do homework together with somebody, or study together. Those kind of things, you can talk about that. And at least for teachers, basically, most of the time we found out that the best way to learn this material is try to teach it to somebody. So when you're helping somebody else out with their homework that's the same stuff you're working on, it'll really help you understand and remember. So there's also there's a whole bunch of online stuff that, especially in the math world, this Khan Academy has a lot of resources, and it's good to get a different voice on some of this stuff. When you're working on an assignment, if you want to pursue this stuff, look at the objective that's in the book, and if you search by that objective that we're working on, you'll have a whole bunch of stuff pop up. A lot of videos explaining what it's about. Hopefully it's more about what it's about, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. And then there's technique. I hate that. I really want to focus in, especially on this kind of level of algebra, is that you understand why things work. We're going to focus on language and properties and that kind of stuff. And I will question and have tests based on that. Those questions, test questions based on, like what is the associative property and stuff like that. And just a little note at the end, if you consistently work hard at this course, I believe you can succeed. And it is my goal to help you do that, definitely. And anything in this syllabus is subject to change at the instructor's discretion. If we have some major glitch or something that happens here, we might have to change the direction we go in the course too. And that's syllabus in our announcements. Also, I put that in Canvas, and then here I put a link to the proctoring information that's on our Wenatchee Valley College website, that's a good link to go to. It's not necessarily the easiest to find in there. So it gives you a link here. It talks about distance courses, that's where it starts out. And there is a form here to ask for services, which is a great way to do that. It goes into our proctoring service at Wenatchee Valley. I'm not sure about the OMAC campus. And then I can instruct if I have a test that sometimes I'll set an afternoon together with Sudie Atkins and say, hey, I'm gonna try to have all my students come in this afternoon. This afternoon I have to schedule with her, see if she's available, and do that stuff. So, and you can also request if we have when we have chapter tests, like I did with the quiz, we have multiple days to do that in. That's what I'll do with the chapter test. I'll say the chapter test is going to be available at this beginning at this day, and it is due, maybe a lot of times I'll do it on Friday. The test is open and it has a password associated with it, so you can't get into it without a password. And then probably the next Monday I'll say that the chapter test is due. So that would mean that you'd have to find a proctoring situation in that 2 days in that weekend kind of thing. So at the end of that time, basically if you haven't taken your chapter tests, then I'm looking for some kind of valid excuse to why you couldn't make that window of time. And also, not a very good excuse is that I forgot to arrange proctoring. If you're doing something and you just didn't arrange a proctor, those types of things. I'll have these dates. We'll talk about when they're coming up a few weeks in advance, so you'll have time to make arrangements. And if you can't make arrangements, I should know about it prior to the test being due. So there also are some things in here they talk about. I haven't had anybody succeed or do this lockdown browser, or there's a way to do it with Skype, so you can have somebody watch you on a camera take a test. So if you think that that's your only options, there are a lot of variables that come into that. One is you have to have very good internet connection wherever you're going to try to do that, that's reliable. And also I would want to know reasons why we would want to do special cases for that too. They talk about libraries. A lot of libraries will offer proctoring services, so if you have a library near you or something like that, and that's the only option, you can't make it to campus, we'll need to make some prior arrangements for that. We won't be in a proctoring situation for a few weeks. When we finish chapter 4 will be our first chapter test, so we'll have some window of time there that I want you to do this. But this is definitely should get familiar with this. And in your first assignment, I'm talking about what are you planning on doing for proctoring for your chapter tests. And mostly I want you to find out, first of all, to understand that you have to have proctoring for those chapter tests. There has to be some supervision for your tests. And also that there are a couple different options there, and you need to get familiar with that so you can determine which way you're going to try to go with that. And I think probably for this video that's enough. We got through that part. We're going to talk about the next thing. I'll start talking about the reviews in our videos and some other stuff, and what we're going to do on an ongoing basis when that first quiz is coming up. And hopefully I will do a video of review of chapter 1, 2, and 3. Real short, kind of highlight, fast video. The review assignments kind of definitely dig into that. There's a lot of help available for that. So good to have you in the course, and good luck, and we'll communicate more later.